Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Widgets and Wonders. This is my show about great products from small companies. And I'm joined today by Dave Taylor.
Hello.
And Mel Bose.
Hi guys.
And you can tell from the t-shirts that they are excited about Terrain Essentials. This is a book that they're going to be doing. It's a... How should I describe this book? It's an encapsulation of Mel's knowledge.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the tagline that Mel and I talked about was the essential guide to tabletop gaming, tabletop terrain.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and we're at Adepticon this week, wandering around talking about that and other things. So I think it would be really cool to have a discussion with these guys about the book and sort of what I think it means to wargaming culture, because we have a distinct lack, Mel, of these skills being passed on.
Yeah, right? Very much so.
The guys that used to build model trains that would teach kids to do it for wargaming, they're not going to be around much longer.
it was one of the drivers. I mean, long before I did the terrain shoot, I mean, me and Dave go back to blogging days when I was doing Corbania Prime. And even then, I was doing terrain tutorials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I noticed was, I love 40k, but when GW brought their plastic kit out, I was going through the web, Bella Lost Souls and all those, and you see the tournaments, and it was like, every table was a city fight table.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every single one. I couldn't see a hill. Yeah, now...
It's true. You know, it's funny. You're right, because the topography is always flat with buildings sticking out.
Exactly. There were no elevations, there was no greenery, there were no trees. And I can understand that. Great kits.
Well, easy to make, too.
Easy, enabling play. Yeah, but the downside was, it was almost like, this is so great, everyone shifted over to it. And it was like, actually, if we don't sort of do something about this, they're not going to know what we used to do. How we used to build tables.
Or the garbage hoarding.
I mean,
in the old days, it was always we're hoarding bits of weird packaging from computers.
This packaging foam is awesome.
But even
GW, make this out of it,
But even GW, I mean, obviously from a commercial sense, they went to push that. So even they dropped their sort of, this is how you build a hill. This is how you build.
We can sell it to you instead.
Exactly.
They'll sell
and that's what they're there for. That's their mission. It's understandable. But at the same time, I mean, terrain building goes back to the post-war time, 1950s, the movie industry, where
architecture too.
Exactly. Architectural foam board buildings, that sort of stuff. And there's a whole range of skills that just seem to be disappearing from wargaming. And then what I was noticing is, then we had MDF, then we had EPVC, guys like Plascraft, we're now into 3D printing and resin casts, and it's like, there's some lovely stuff in that hall, but I've only seen one scenic company in there. I've only seen one stand selling trees, and they're German trees they've imported in. And that, it's like we wage war on so many different planets, but they're all plastic or MDF.
They're all Class M, as Star Trek would call it. Every planet looks like Earth.
At the end of the day, if you can look at a photo and not know what gaming club it's come from, it's time we need to do something about it. And that was the impetus of doing the channel. And then when me and Dave, it was like actually, YouTube could nuke my channel at any point. You know what I mean? I mean, Ad Apocalypse, all those sort of things. It could be a technical glitch and I could disappear. And it was like when Dave come along and started talking about book and that sort of stuff, it was like, we want to encapsulate this. Because I've grown up with it.
Well, all three of us grew up with that actually being a thing that you could commercially buy. So, I mean, we had the red and blue How to Make Wargames Terrain books from GW. We've had various different model railroad companies that would actually put out how to make skill models, model train. But it's becoming less and less accessible, and it's certainly less accessible in our commercial field, right? When you go to the gaming store, you're not going to see something like that just on the shelf.
No, exactly. No.
Especially not that's purpose made for terrain, because there's a lot of terrain tips for things like model trains, but you never touch it afterwards. So
exactly.
It's a beautiful model.
I always say,
but it's not going to handle the 7-year-old touch test of I dropped it on the floor and now it explodes.
I always say with the railway guys who come onto my channel and they're like, it's a bit basic, and it's like, that's because it's getting thrown in and out of a box. It's being stored, and with no offence, my D-Day board, when I delivered that to the store, within 5 minutes, someone put a plastic hard case box on my Ocean Waves.
Of course,
and it's like, that's 3 months' work, guys.
You probably don't want to do
but luckily, hard coated, tough. It was designed for that because our wargaming terrain needs to be durable. And I think that's why a lot of people jumped on the plastic and the MDF, because it was durable.
Robust. It was a robust.
We've got to make sure that we keep these techniques, that the old boys developed, because otherwise,
through sweat and blood too. Because I mean, a lot of it was developed because I think in like the 90s and early 2000s, we were adapting techniques from the model railroads into wargaming.
Yeah, film industry, the architectural guys, all those sort of things. We were nicking from everywhere to make our buildings, and they were glorious.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And not just that, terrain building is a nice side of the hobby. It's arts. It takes you back to your sort of childhood with the arts and crafts and that sort of stuff.
I would say it's contemplative. You're creating a serene, like sort of like war-torn hellscape. But it's your therapeutic. It's your serene war-torn hellscape, right?
You know what? You have the vision for the end of it, and exactly. You're going to slowly, methodically work through it and achieve it. Yeah, you're right. Contemplative. You can get lost in it.
Exactly. It's kind of like the whole like pruning bonsai trees. That idea of like slowly creating something. And I can remember you and I loading games day tables into the backs of trucks. And creating them in like wooden things, and still worrying that they were going to get destroyed, but knowing that we'd spent like 4 or 5 hours the night before at 5 a.m. coating it with 7 layers of PVA glue. So hopefully it would survive the day. And the 3,000 people that were going to like throw stuff at it and put toy soldiers on it or whatever.
And having touch-up paint that you did every show, because you knew that like once everything was set up, you just run around with the touch-up paint. And then the next time round, touch-up paint.
Browns and grays.
Browns, grays, and flock.
Browns and grays cover all sins and terrain damage. Well, I think this is great that you guys are doing this. Obviously, you've hit a bunch of milestones. The book's in hardcover at this point. You have how many pages? What's the
124 coming on?
No, 100. You're coming up on 136.
Awesome. So give me the rundown of like the greatest hits. What's it going to cover from like? I haven't built terrain before.
Well, the inside of the book is my bag. I mean, Dave with him doing his Kickstarter, he's handling publishing, distribution, the Kickstarter, that sort of stuff. But the content is very much my bag. Now, the very first book we were going to do, the 96-page one, that was pretty much 50-50 split of all the core theory, so all the techniques, all the information on the materials, how to fight warping, basing concept, modularity, scales, design theory. So basically the idea was, the front of the book was, it doesn't matter what game you play. If you have this knowledge, it doesn't matter what you want to make, you can make it. The second half of the book, and the bit that we're expanding through the stretch goals, are actual individual builds where I pick common themes, and then I take that information, and it's not different, but I tailor it to that environment. So if we're talking like
a project,
Gothic-y school buildings, with industrial bits, then we're talking like Steam and grime, Rust, and all those sort of things. I mean, to be truthful, you can write a chapter on Rust, but we'll probably do a page. No one needs to, it's essentials, not deep dive.
I'm going to request 2 pages at least. I'm a big fan of Rust. So.
Well, I've got at least another 7 sort of industrial weathering techniques to fit in there as well.
It's true.
So I'll tell you what, I'll give you a page, and then we'll have 6 on the other.
I do want to see the others too. That's
Thank you. But that's the idea. So core information. It follows my channel. The idea of, I'm a great believer in, if you teach someone a technique, they can do something. If you teach them the theory and the knowledge behind it, exactly, then they can apply it to wherever they want.
Right. I don't want you to learn how to make a industrial building. I want you to be able to learn a technique you can use on tanks.
Exactly.
Everything that you're going to paint in the future.
Color theory, knowledge, everything's transferable.
We used to joke about that teaching painting Games Workshop is, I'm not going to teach you to paint to ultramarines, I'm going to teach you how to paint blue.
Mate, at the end of the day,
and then you can paint anything blue for the rest of your life.
Exactly. At the end of the day, look at it this way. A terrain base is that big, a miniature base is that big. Same techniques, same colours, same principles. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So that's great. The material stuff obviously too is really, really important for making terrain, because it's being able to see an object that might not have the application in real life that you're
it's not just that though. I mean, how often have you got a building, you're not quite sure on the material, and something goes wrong with your glue or your process, you've used not the right material for what you're trying to achieve. Like when you hit cardboard with spray paint and it bitties.
Hot tips on
little things like that. So the idea behind the materials is to make sure that that's the material I want, that's the glue I need to use with it, that's the paint I should use with it, that's the sealer I should use with it.
I think that's really important, because that's that learned trial and error knowledge. It's stuff that you learn by doing it a whole bunch. If you're going to get this book, obviously this is the thing that this is the advice you're looking for. I don't want to make this mistake the first 17 times.
I've been making terrain since I was 5.
You've made mistakes since you're 5.
I'm still making and I'm still learning. I make mistakes on purpose so I can figure out how to fix them. Because I like learning and figuring things out. That's the way my mind works. You know what I mean?
What I think's great about that too is obviously the thing with materials very often is, this is an international thing. People are buying this from all over the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's important to know about materials because you're going to be able to find them locally to you, but they might not be the same name or the same.
Well, actually, we're already on that. Yeah, we've engaged my actual Terrainiac community, or we're about to. Yeah. So, I mean, they'll probably about find out off this video, to be perfectly honest, but... Sorry, guys.
You're about to get engaged.
Yeah, but I've got Terrainiacs around the world, so what we're going to do is look at each material and go, right, what's your country, what's it called there, what are the common brands, and then we're going to release sort of, we're thinking PDF, we're not quite sure yet. I think not in the book, because the pages are important.
You can do a live document that way.
Yeah, exactly.
We can just
update
do a link in the book, and people can go find it somewhere.
Exactly.
I mean, I think like a Doomsday Book PDF, where it lists all of that stuff, like, okay, it's called this in the US, it's called this in Canada.
And when brands...
And we get that question so often. So exactly. What primer do you use? What's the name of it? Where do I get Rust-Oleum, Painter's Touch, whatever? And it's like, well, I mean, in Canada I can get it here, but I can't guarantee you can find this.
I've got to the stage now, whenever I say, let's do it with filler, spackle, because the sheer amount of questions like, what's filler?
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just different, same materials, different terminology. So we've got this idea for this sort of like PDF living document.
Great.
That will work as a reference and the community will support. So the idea is, there's a couple of ancillary things which we think are good ideas we're playing around with and that sort of stuff. Yeah, but the core knowledge, which will always stay true, is the materials, the techniques, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that goes in the book. But things that we want to update and extra things that we don't want to really give up pages for, but we'd like to include. Right. I mean, there's one of them, I paint in books. And what I mean is, if I've got a book and I open it up and there's an ocean scene, I get the paints and I match it and I paint them on so I can colour tone. Now Dave was like, no, people are not going to paint in their book now. So Dave convinced me to do I
was horrified.
Not everyone's...
I won't show him his book.
Lawful good, chaotic.
If you've seen my videos, that's so true.
That's true. I'm a buy the book kind of guy.
I'm gonna throw the book out the window. Let's do this.
That's great.
But all those sort of ideas and little things that add on, that add value, not just commercial value, but add informational value. You know what I mean? Make it useful. I'm a great believer in, I don't believe in mugs and t-shirts and that sort of stuff. I'm a believer in what you call it, information. That's what people want. So that's my priority.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where the value is. I think talking about the making sure these arts aren't lost kind of idea is that we want to make a book that is just as valuable in 10 years time, in 20 years time, possibly more valuable.
Well, let's be honest, we're using techniques that were started 50 years ago. In principle.
For different purposes.
For film industry and all that sort of stuff. So the techniques, we've got some new materials, but the techniques haven't changed. So they're not going to change in another 10, 20 years, you know what I mean? They're going to be around.
But we're not getting any younger. Anyway.
What are you saying? Anyway.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Big thanks to Mel and Dave for having to sit down with me at Adepticon. This is obviously a very informal Widgets and Wonders. We've seen a couple of books that Dave's done already, and of course the biggest one being Armies and Legions and Hordes, which just came out, which you guys should check out too, and I've done a review of, which I'll link in the cards. But keep your eyes on this, guys. How much longer is it up?
The Kickstarter's up until 14th, till April 14th.
Right. Okay, so 2 weeks.
16 days, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're 16 days now.
And so we're like halfway through the campaign. And we're
just about halfway through getting to our end book. So you know what I mean. As long as we keep pushing and people get engaged, I get these pages.
And this is available digitally too. There's a PDF version, so that if you are living somewhere remote and you're worried about shipping a book and stuff too, it'll be accessible that way as well. So big thanks for watching, and big thanks guys for sitting down and chatting with me tonight. So MASH, Wargaming. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.